We are back here at the Sox, and we are now into the month of July, coming up here on the All-Star break. But before we do that, all the good stuff that goes on during the All-Star break, we are going to be doing one more game here before the break. And unfortunately, we will not be able to make a decision on if we trade Nick Gordon or not this season because he is actually going to be hurt for 2 to 3 months with a broken hand on the 60-day IL. He's been playing pretty well for us in mainly utility role. Hasn't quite gotten 100 ABs this season, but in those high 90 amount of ABs he has been quite solid for us coming off the bench rather. So coming up from AAA Charlotte to replace him is going to be Lenyn Sosa, a second baseman, third baseman mainly, can play some shortstop, but mainly second and third. He got a cup of coffee the past couple seasons in the big leagues, and he's going to be coming up playing some probably decent amount of playing time here the rest of the year, especially once we get post-trade deadline. Sosa was hitting pretty well down in AAA. He had a 780 OPS and about 280 ABs. The Sox are once again here on the South Side, playing host to another cellar-dweller team, the Washington Nationals, here at Guaranteed Rate Field. Two stinky teams taking on each other in the Chicago summer. Mackenzie Gore, the left-hander, going for Washington. Take a look at the Sox lineup on the day listed 1-2-9, as well as their starter. Toe on the slab, it's Dylan Cease, making his 18th start of the season. Take a look at the Nationals 1-9 as well. We'll start things off with that order. One man on, one out. Joey Meneses grounds one through the left side. That's a base knock. So first and second here with one out brings up Alex Call. Breaking ball gets away from the catcher Perez. Moves up 2 runners in the scoring position. And then a 3-1 count to Call. He would spit on a up and in fastball that just barely misses the zone. And now its bases are drunk. Keibert Ruiz comes up, flares one out to third base. 2 down as Moncada puts it away. And then Cease thinking he could possibly get out of it, but instead, Michael Chavis hits a line drive up the middle. That's going to score 2, and the Nationals do strike first in this one. They're up 2-0. Brings up James Wood as he just chops one over to first base. Vaughn steps in the bag, and that would end the inning, stranding 2 runners on the corners. Move things on top 2 now. Jeter Downs, ground ball. Trying to turn the double play, not quite. Then Cease works another ground ball to Abrams. How about another chance at the double play? 3-6, not in time. Another fielder's choice, 2 outs. You guessed it, another ground ball, but this time they only need 1 out, so Cease gets out of it scoreless. Then top 3, he would strike out Alex Call for out number 2 in the inning, punches him out, brings up Keibert Ruiz, looking on the curveball, perfectly drops that one in there, as Cease had it dialed in after that rough first inning. Move things on, bottom 3 here, Andrew Benintendi spits on ball 4, he'll take his base, so he's on first with 1 out, brings up Andrew Vaughn, who launches one to right center field and just keeps carrying until it's over the wall. A 2-run blast here for the Sox as Andrew Vaughn connects on that one and ties the game, and they weren't done. Eloy Jimenez, welcome to the party. He absolutely squishes this one down the left field line, way out of here, no doubt home run, and the Sox have their first lead of the game here. It is 3-2 after 2 home runs in that inning. Then it brings up top 4. James Woods spits on ball 4, so 1 out, runner on first. Brings up Elijah Green. He would also draw a walk as the control issues start to creep in here for Cease. So first and second, 1 out, brings up Jeter Downs, ground ball Moncada, and he just chucks this one into right field. A run's going to come in to score. The Nationals tie the game on that, so now 2 on, 1 out. Brings up Abrams. He rips one into right field. That moves up everybody. Some speed on second base, is able to score all the way from second, so it's now 4-3 as Washington reclaims the lead. But then Cease would clutch up as he strikes out Luis Gonzalez, and then gets Meneses to fly one out to center field where Robert puts it away easily. Move things on to the bottom half of the inning now. Yoan Moncada taking one at the left center field. This one's into the gap, up against the wall. That's an easy leadoff 2-bagger for the White Sox third baseman, so he's in scoring position. Brings up Carlos Perez. He's going out to left center as well. This one given a dive by the center fielder, but not quite reeled in. And then Perez, just some bad base running here as Perez does end up at second, but then Moncada is caught up at third here because he wasn't sure if he had to go, and then he got hung up at third. Toot blind over on third. So it's still 4-3, but then Yusniel Diaz comes up, rips one into the corner, scores Perez, ties the game, but then unfortunately Diaz is out on the back end and trying to turn it into a double. So move things on top 5 now. Keibert Ruiz goes down swinging. James Wood comes up. He gets the fastball blown by him. 97 on the gun, whiffs right through it. Cease was pretty locked in, aside from a couple innings, but I mean, that's basically what we're expecting from Cease at this point for how he's pitching from us. But now, bottom 5, Luis Roberts sending one at the right center field into the gap. That's going to score a run. It's a tie game at 4 now. And then Yona Doan comes on, or not a tie game, the Sox take the lead as Yona Doan comes on out of the bullpen. And then Jimenez grounds one past the third baseman. That's going to score another one, and the Sox extend their lead to be a 2-run lead. 6-4 is the score. Move things on to the 7th, where Brett Martin comes on, the left-hander out of the Nationals bullpen. Leading off the inning, it's Andrew Vaughn. Takes that one, shoots that to right field for a base knock, so that's a base knock to lead off the inning. Brings up Luis Robert. He also shoots one out to right field. Back-to-back opposite field hits. Vaughn goes first to third, and Robert uses his speed to turn it into a double. So 2 runners in the scoring position. Brings up Jimenez. Chopper right back to the pitcher. Brett Martin being an athlete there, throwing it over to first base. And then it brings up Dahlbeck, who whiffs through that one. So suddenly 2 down, 2 in scoring position. They intentionally walk Moncada to get to the catcher, Carlos Perez, and he is offended. Sends this one into right center field, into the gap. That's going to clear the bases, baby. A bases clearing 3 RBI double for Carlos Perez, and the White Sox extend their lead to be 9-4 here in this game thanks to their catcher. Move things on as they weren't quite done there, as everybody is hyped for Perez. It's now the 8th inning, and Benintendi is going to scoop one over into right field. That's going to get into the seats, and he continues his hot season here as he extends their lead, puts their lead, or their runs into double digits, his 10th home run for the 10th run of the game, and that would end up being your final score, 10-4 here in this game as the White Sox rout the Washington Nationals here at home. Andrew Vaughn gets player of the game honors. He went 3 for 5 on the day with a home run of his own. Luis Robert Jr. went 4 for 5 with 2 doubles. Carlos Perez had 2 doubles. 15 total hits for this White Sox offense, while Dylan Cease goes 6 innings, only gives up 6 hits, strikes out 6, but also walks 4 guys and gives up 3 earned runs. And we have now reached the middle of the month of July here. It is the All-Star break, and that means that a lot of things are happening, including the 2024 first-year entry draft, which is what we will be diving right into here. Our Chicago White Sox had the 8th overall pick this season. Number 1 went to the Royals because they were just god-awful last year. And with that 8th overall pick, we took left-handed 19-year-old Brad Rasmussen out of Illinois, a starting pitcher. And moving things on to our 2nd round pick, with the 44th overall pick, we took a 22-year-old infielder, Riley Layton, out of Michigan. Then in round 3, with the 82nd overall pick, we took an 18-year-old outfielder, Edgar Vasquez, out of Panama. Round 4, with the 112th overall pick, we took an 18-year-old left-handed starting pitcher named Robert Kraft, out of Illinois. I promise I'm not actually trying to draft only pitchers out of Illinois or only players out of Illinois, or really out of just the Midwest in general, and I'm not going to beat those allegations with this next pick, as Henry Ramos is our 5th round pick with the 142nd overall pick, 18-year-old right-handed starter out of Wisconsin. And then in round 6, we strayed away from the Midwest as we took just a little flyer on a guy because we didn't have anybody scattered at this point, a catcher, 18 years old, out of California, Alden Guthrie. And all 6 of these players were signed. All of them, we were able to get them for the amount of money that we had to spend. And be sure to remember, when you see these players getting picked here and you see them standing there on the new screen where they're just standing there like tapping their glove or whatever, what they look like here, think of that as a placeholder, because I always edit guys that I pick. I don't edit their ratings, obviously. I edit what they look like, because I just think the generated, randomized looks they have in this game just look stupid half the time. They don't look like real people. The equipment is always stupid. Like, they'll have a pitcher who's wearing a single sleeve, and it's also not even like a tight sleeve. It's just like a single baggy sleeve. So I edit them to be looking more like actual baseball players. Like, for example, Alden Guthrie, probably 18-year-old Alden Guthrie, not going to be looking like late career Chris Young. Probably going to mix up his look a bit to be looking more 18-year-old-ish in 2023. Or 2024, I guess 2025, and he'll be on the team. You know what I mean. But now let's move into the actual All-Star break portion of this episode, as that is where we are now in the season. And the White Sox, the update on them is they are 39-51 here on the season. 7-3 in their last 10, though, which is kind of not great to see because we are trying to be bad and get the best possible draft pick here. Currently sitting 4th in the Central, though, as the Tigers are a bit worse than us, though. And then the Royals, who you just saw had the #1 overall pick in the draft this year because they were just absolutely, I think they lost like 120 games or something like that. And this year, all of a sudden scrappy. They had a really quick turnaround here. They are only 4.5 games out of first place here in the AL Central, so they're a scrappy team this season. Who knows, maybe that could be us next year once we call it the Kids. We've also got the AL East, which, just like in real life, is insane. The Orioles only 1 game below 500, and they are in last place. They are 3-7 in their last 10 as well, so I would imagine that them being under 500 is like a new thing as well. While the NL Central, also kind of like real life, but even worse than it is in real life, being led by the 41-49 Milwaukee Brewers, and then the 37-53 Cardinals are in 4th place, only 4 games back. Then if we move things on and taking a look at some of our players here, how they're doing this season, Eloy Jimenez got off to that slow start this year, not quite doing what he did last year for us, where he had like a 900 OPS, or at the All-Star break, I believe it was. But like I said, got off to a slow start, and he has been turning things around quite a bit now, has his OPS up to a respectable 757 here, has 14 home runs on the season, while BENINTENDI has just been absolutely insane for us this season as our leadoff man mainly, hitting some in the 2-hole as well, but mainly been leadoff this season. Has an 840 OPS, which is the highest on the team, 10 home runs as well, which we just saw in the Nationals game, and then he had the 6th best average in the American League here at the break. And the plan with BENINTENDI is he's probably not going to be traded at this year's deadline because he has the rest of this year plus 3 more years left on his contract. But heading into next season, that means he'll only have 3 years on his contract left, which is something that I feel like teams wouldn't be as scared to trade for. And he would be coming off the ratings boost and just what his trade value would be in real life if he came off a season like this. So BENINTENDI, obviously his age and whatnot does not fit our timeline, and I would like to be able to open up that left field spot and have one of our young outfielders be able to play that spot instead of having an aging BENINTENDI. So, like I said, probably not going to be trading him at the deadline this season, but I will be hardcore looking to trade him in the offseason before we head into the 2025 campaign. But moving on to the next player, we have Andrew Vaughn, who's been solid, 794 OPS. He's probably also on the move with pretty much anyone on this team not named like Dylan Cease, Eloy Jimenez, Luis Robert, and then like any of the young guys, obviously. Like, I'm not going to trade Colas, I'm not going to trade Montgomery, and the obvious guys I'm not going to trade. Gavin Sheets has also been real good for us this season, 825 OPS with 13 home runs. Luis Robert Jr., since coming off the IL, only has about 92 at-bats so far this season, and only a 705 OPS, barely 700, but still very early on in this year, so I'm hoping that maybe he can regain some form, because last year he was just not good at all, even before he got hurt. And then if we take a look at the pitching, we've got Lucas Giolito, who war-wise has been our best starter. Not too shabby season. Basically him, Kopech, and Luke Weaver all having, stats-wise, the same season, more or less. While Dylan Cease, despite being paid to be our ace, is not pitching very ace-like. But Michael Rucker, on the other hand, in our bullpen this season, as we know, has been a great revelation this year, boosting that trade value. He still has that ERA under 1, still has the FIP under 2. He is our 2024 All-Star selection as well. And then taking a bit of a look around the league here, in the American League, home runs, Brent Rooker of the Oakland A's actually has 23 big flies, which is top 5 in the league. Carlos Rodon leads American League in pitchers in WAR. Adley Rushman leads the hitters. Miles Straw, also just always a god in this game for whatever reason. And then taking a look at the National League, they have Ozzie Carrera from the D-backs, who we faced earlier in this season. He is their rookie, just tearing it up. Third best average in the National League. Pete Alonso already has 30 home runs for the Mets. And in this universe, the Dodgers actually managed to fix Noah Syndergaard for leading the league, or leading the National League in strikeouts. While San Francisco, their trio of Logan Webb and then their 2 free agent pickups in Julio Urias and Austin Nola have been absolutely insane. Those 3 guys are among the top 4 in pitcher WAR in the National League. While Mookie Betts leads the hitters, Tyler Stevenson's been insane for Cincinnati. They're in the top 10. And then also Dansby Swanson has been great for the Northsiders. And now I also present you with the dumbest all-star selection of the 2024 season. It is Jace Young of the Detroit Tigers. The Texas Tech man slashing 166, 228, 262 in less than 200 ABs. That's the Tigers' lone all-star, baby. Man, MLB The Show just killing it as always, baby. And then taking a look at some of the award races, or just particularly one of them, as Oscar Colas is actually leading the American League Rookie of the Year race at the moment. Possibly one of the awards that I really care the absolute least about in real life and in this game, because like 90% of the time it just ends up being a guy who gets a bunch of at-bats on a bad team and really isn't even that good, which in this case is Oscar Colas. And then shout out to Julien of the Twins, who is somehow finding time to hit well in the major leagues in between playing Chell in the most exploity way possible while on a team wearing the Blue Blanc. And then just a quick little update of what our trade block situation is right now as it scrolls through. These are all the players that we are potentially going to be getting rid of here this trade deadline here in 2024. So yeah, we're going to be gutting this team at the deadline. We are trying to prepare this roster for the 2025 season, opening up as many spots as we possibly can to have more of our prospects up in the big leagues, getting playing time, developing up here, because we have some guys who have kind of just been too good for the minor leagues at this point. And also, I would like to start getting the actual pieces in place here in the big leagues, getting guys time and seeing what we have in certain players. So Giolito, Kopech, Weaver, that's 3 starting rotation spots right there. Those guys are probably all gone. 2 first basemen in Sheets and Vaughn. I mean, it should be pretty exciting to see what this roster looks like the rest of the season, and then also mainly more next season, because we're probably not going to be calling up most of the prospects this year. Going to let them keep developing this year and have just more so like late 20s guys comes up, and just guys who are in AAA right now come up and play in the big leagues, with a couple prospects like Ramos. Jonathan Cannon will probably be up in the big leagues. But really what it's about is 2025, Season 3. That is when we are really going to be letting the kids play up in the big leagues. And as you can see here, we are now a couple series post All-Star break here that we've actually won. Swept the Mariners, beat a series in Milwaukee. Stop that. We're trying to lose. And the Sox are back here at home post All-Star break now, as they're going to be playing host to the New York Mets here at Guaranteed Rate Field. Toeing the slab for the White Sox is going to be Luke Weaver, the right-hander, making his 20th start, probably his last start here with the White Sox. Take a look at the Mets lineup 1-9, as well as the Metropolitan starter, the left-hander David Peterson, making his 20th start, as well as the Sox lineup 1-9 on the day. We'll start things off. Luis Robert Jr., La Pantera, sending one out opposite way right field. That is deposited into the bullpen. A solo shot gets this game started off with a scoring 1-0 Chicago on top. Move things on a little bit later. It's top 3. Omar Narvaez, the Metropolitan catcher, rips one down into the right field corner, and even with his 9 speed, single-digit speed, gets those not-so-fleet feet into second base with a double. So 1 out now brings up Dominguez. A ground ball moves the runner over to third. So 2 outs, 90 feet away from scoring is Narvaez, and then Luke Weaver, being a not-so-good athlete, chucks this one over the head of the first baseman, allows Narvaez to score. It's a 1-1 game, runner on second base, and it's a ground ball to the shortstop. And it's a not great scoop there from Vaughn at first base. So now 2 on, runners on the corners here, another chopper to Haggerty at short, and this time almost throwing it over the head of Vaughn, but instead he's able to secure it, and it's only a 1-1 game. So move things on, bottom 3 here as Lenin Sosa, the recent call from AAA, punches one out the right center field, lands in for a hit, then Benintendi slaps one into left field. So back-to-back singles there, or not back-to-back, but 2 singles there on the inning, and then Vaughn comes up, rips one into that left field corner. That's going to score a run. 2-1 as Sox reclaim their lead. Brings up Robert as Andrew Vaughn going to be sent stealing there. Trying to go for the hit and run, but the pitch was just so outside that Robert did not swing at it, and then unfortunately, he does go down swinging. So 2 down, and then Jimenez just grounds one to shortstop, so nothing else going for Chicago in that inning. Move things on, top 4 here, ground ball right side, Lenin Sosa from the outfield grass, spinorama, great play by Sosa, and then they're testing him again. Great charge there at second base. 2 solid plays. Hey, remember Oscar Mercado last season on the Cardinals when he hit this absolute bomb off Mike Clevenger? Throwback to season 1 here. Yeah, well, he's on the Mets this season, and he's out here facing Luke Weaver, another guy on a 1-year deal with the White Sox, and he's just depositing this one into the right field seats. An absolute bomb past the bullpen. The guy just loves homering against the White Sox here at guaranteed rate. That's his 8th of the season, ties the game at 2 here, and then with 2 outs brings up Benintendi as he hits one over the head of the right fielder in the bottom of the 5th, and he's on second in scoring position, so Vaughn steps into the box and then just rips one left center field. It just keeps carrying. Another home run for Vaughn on the season, a 2-run blast, and the Sox are back on top. It's now a 4-2 game. Garrett Crochet comes on here for the Sox as we move things on. Top 7, 1 out. Pitch to Lindor, gets away, but it's ball 4 anyways, so he's on first. And then Rafael Ortega, another shot to right center this time. Stays in the ballpark, but it is going to be an RBI double, and it's now a 4-3 game as the Mets get within 1 run here. So runner on second here. 1 out, now 2 outs as Narvaez gets the fastball blown by him, and then Dominguez also gets the fastball blown by him. So Crochet strands the runner on second after back-to-back Ks, but it is a 4-3 game now as Michael Rucker comes on here in the 8th, looking to bridge the gap to the 9th. And things do not go that well for him, actually, as Brandon Nimmo, he's going to have himself a 1-out double here on second base. Brings up Pete Alonso. His power surge season continues. An absolute bomb over into the left field bullpen. A 2-run blast, and that gives the Mets a lead in this one. 5-4 for the Metropolitans. Edwin Diaz comes on in the 9th looking for the save. Gavin Sheets pinch hitting here with 2 outs. Runner on first, check swing. They say he went around. And the Mets win this game here 5-4 over the White Sox. They pick up the victory, and Rafael Ortega, of course, picks up player of the game honors. 3 for 4 on the day with a home run and a double. Vaughn, Robert, Benintendi all went 2 for 4 for the Sox, but they just did not have enough runs to top this New York Mets team. And with that being said, that's going to wrap things up here for this edition of the Chicago White Sox franchise here on MLB The Show 23. I've been your host, Jerseyborn, and I'm saying, Ben Verlander, shut up.